But what we'll do now is to analyze the issues behind the headlines. And, privileged to have joining me is Koshi Dede, who now is a friend, is a big friend, but he's an engineer by profession. Loves his country dearly, speaks passionately about issues affecting the country and the need to avoid partisanship in the national discourse. Koshi, good morning and welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Good morning. Thanks very much.
I hope you are well.
I am.
How is the Ghana Institute of Engineers doing?
Oh, we are doing well. Barely a week ago, the president gave his presidential address and put into the public space a number of interesting issues which I think that we need to look at. Again, today is also World Engineering Day.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't even know.
World Engineering Day. So, for us as an institution, we are commemorating the day with a number of events. Plus, in this month as well, we'll be going for our annual general conference in Ho.
Okay.
So, generally, the institution is doing its best.
Wow,
we can do
Day.
more. We can do more. We can do more. Yeah.
Wow, so it's a day you guys are just chilling to celebrate and revel in the fact that you are.
No,
yeah.
it's a day for us to actually reflect on the practice and say, are we doing the best we can? And the practice should reflect in the society, how society benefits from engineering practice. So we should look around Ghana here and say, how well are we as engineers doing? How does the society see us? Do they think that we are offering the best of services? Those are some of the things that I think need to be discussed.
We'll start off the show on that note, right? So we'll be going into Ayawaso East as well. We'll discuss the public sector in terms of, some revocations in job recruitment, and we'll end on the Israel-Iran war. But after, 70 years of independence, would you say we are at a place, that is best in terms of the contributions of, engineers to our national development? There's the National Development Planning Commission. All the time we come up with very lofty ideas as to how we need to move the country forward. Would you say over time, if you look at where we're coming from as a people, we've made progress in terms of the contribution of engineers to our development space?
Well, generally I'll say that the fact that we have the lights on after all these years says that the engineers are doing something.
Yesterday my lights went
right.
off, by the way,
but the fact that they are also going off rampantly also tells us that there's a weakness within that system. The condition of our roads, traffic flow, a lot of things we can look around ourselves and say, have we done well? So there's a lot that we as practitioners need to be reflecting on and asking ourselves whether we are doing the best. Irrigation. After all these years, how many irrigated farms do we have? Why can't Ghana feed itself after all these years? So unfortunately, most of these issues have been dominated by elective politics. So the engineers and other professionals have succumbed to the politics within public space. So instead of engineers stamping their authority and say, this is not right, professionally, they all bend. Most of them tend to bend. And that is what is affecting us in terms of engineering. I mean, if you look at the lights, nationally, the Energy Commission plans and makes projections about energy demands over the next few years based on a number of parameters. And based on those parameters, once government makes resources available, engineers should be able to say we need more power plants, or we need to have this, or we need to improve energy efficiency and things like that, and lay out some of those things so that we don't have the kind of lights that are going off and on, and that transformers don't get overloaded and issues like that. But unfortunately, because our national discourse has been overtaken by elective politics, and almost all professionals have succumbed to that, we don't seem to get the benefit of all the training that we put engineers, teachers, medical doctors, and everybody through. Like recently, when you hear about the case where a patient went from one hospital to the other, and all everybody said was, there's no bed. I mean, the frustrations of medical practitioners themselves are telling. But unfortunately, we have allowed politics to dominate every sector of this economy, so that people are being promoted, systems are being set aside, simply because somebody belongs to a particular political party, so he or she must get promoted and things like that. So people who are working hard don't see the benefits of working hard. Yeah. There's no meritorious system anymore. Wow. So once you belong to a political party and your party comes to power, you get promoted, you get all the things that you want, and really there's no reward for hard work. Wow. So I think that it's affecting all professions across board, not just the engineering practitioner. And that is why as a country over the last 30 years in elective politics continuously, really the metrics do not tell us that we are making meaningful progress.
Wow, thank you for this amazing insights, right? It's important that you put things in perspective. I'll say that if you look at the kind of problems you have, even with issues as simple as fixing our street lights, right? 2 days ago, a very, very unfortunate incident happened on the Pokwase stretch. A parked vehicle, a vehicle that was stationary as a result of some fault, an Uber driver ramming into it, and just like that, someone loses their life. You are wondering, are we really making progress? Bakoshi, you put it all together very beautifully for us. Grateful. Also have joining us is Wanda Victor Kuto, who is a National Executive Committee member of the governing NDC. Good morning, Wanda, and welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Thank you. Good morning to you.
I'll start off with you. Ayawaso East by-election. It took place yesterday in 113 polling stations. Over 40,000 to vote. We saw way less than that. And of course, the NDC candidate, Baba Jamal Ahmed Mohammed, would win the election. Many have said that the lack of interest and the low turnout could possibly reflect in what they describe as the waning goodwill that your government seems to be enjoying. Is that something you subscribe to?
Thank you very much. Good morning to you. Good morning to my big brother here. Good morning to our viewers. I mean, yesterday's by-election was a straightforward by-election. I must say that if the NDC's goodwill was kind of shaky, you will have seen the anger of voters yesterday. But some could also interpret that people were a bit relaxed because it was for sure, it was like a foregone conclusion. Even the MPP stalwarts, most of them knew that there was no way they would come near the seats, the Ayawaso East seats. So I mean, so I would say there's some element of complacency. And the general feeling that, look, there was no way the Honorable Baba Jamal could not have won that election. And also, contrary to the view that the NDC government hasn't been spending and this artificial management of the economy, I can tell you that within the past 1 year, we have spent 477 million Ghana cedi on the LEAP beneficiaries. We spent over 122 million Ghana cedi for BEC registration, of which members of the Ayawaso East are beneficiaries. We spent 300 million Ghana cedi for the no fish stress policy.
So
the Jumaura program, over 34.5 million Ghana cedi. The NAP program, the National Apprentice Program, we spent over 21 million Ghana cedi. So if you look at all of this, you will not be surprised that any election in Ghana now, in some of us, we are even of the view, if the MPP should open their nomination and should allow NDC person to contest, who will beat them? If their national chairman position or general secretary position is allowed for external people to contest, and anybody from the NDC picks form, will defeat their candidates. That is how attractive the NDC has become. So if you see the low turnout, largely because one, we have a history of low turnout for by-elections. That's a fact. This is not the first time. Two, because of the general notion that, after this election, the Baba Jamal were 5 years. So, once electors have this in their mindset, I mean, that's what happened.
Because I'm looking at the 2024 election results, right, where His Excellency President John Mahama won with over 22,700 votes plus, representing 72%. Of course, Dr. Baumia would garner 8,000 votes, representing 25%. Then you come to the by-election, with the stakes to an extent high, because mind you, we had a widow who ran during the by-election and was projected to win. She didn't win, and we all saw what happened. Your National General Secretary, issuing a very damning statement. In fact, the majority in Parliament called for the election to be annulled. You know, so the stakes were high, and many have said that the low turnout could signify that, you know, maybe the goodwill was winning. But you mentioned to us that it was a foregone conclusion, and we didn't need to bother our heads about it. I'll come to Honorable Isaac Buamanyako, Member of Parliament.
If you look at the figures that you've given, you realize that Honorable Baba Jamal scored better than Bawumia in the general election.
But it's an NDC stronghold.
No, I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. And then also, the statistics you gave came out from a general election. But this is a by-election. You know, the anger for change pulls people out to vote. This election was a by-election. And like you said, it's our stronghold. The notion is that we're going to win and then it will be a hands-down something. So there's no cause for alarm. Our goodwill is intact. Then people have tried using cocoa and all of that, but it's intact. Thank you.
Interesting. Let me come to Honorable Buama and your thoughts on the results, right? And whether or not, as a party, you believe that of all the things that have happened in recent times, ECG tariffs, right? Ghanaians complaining, of course, cocoa becoming very topical. The election in Ayawaso East, whether or not it reflects, the low turnout reflects a decline in the government's goodwill and popularity.
Right, thank you very much, and a very good morning to you and our viewers and to my colleagues on the table, and to the good people of Efia, you know, good morning to them. Yesterday was the birthday of Bright, so let me use this opportunity to wish him a very, very happy birthday, though belated. Listening to Kuto just now, I feel a bit worried in terms of the complacency that NDC, if really what he's saying reflects the position of NDC, that, oh, Ghana, they have all the goodwill, they are doing everything right. And then also, if even there should be a vacancy in MPP and they put an NDC candidate there, even the NDC will win the MPP. These are the languages that Ghanaians don't want to hear. You see, we are supposed to govern a country. It's a responsibility, a sacred responsibility the good people of Ghana have bestowed on you as a government. And so you should be seen to take everything very serious in terms of the good and the difficulties that comes with it. But where we want to behave as if Ghana, prior to 2024 to currently 2026, is on the cruise with very little or no challenges, and that if we go to an election today, the good people of Ghana will give NDC the same or even better percentages than they saw in 2024, then I think he has to go back and revise. You see, the Ayawaso East election may not be the very perfect election to do an assessment of the performance of government, but you can sift out one or two issues that may guide us as politicians and as political parties as to where the mindset of the Ghanaian is going. We're talking first about voter turnout and apathy. Consistently, when you review data, it is clear that by-elections don't come out strong as we see in ordinarily general elections. And so low turnout is to be expected. Secondly, if you look at the constituency itself, being mostly a Muslim-dominated constituency, they are in the middle of their Ramadan fast. Okay. And so if you juxtapose that to the fact that, of course, NDC have won that seat for some time now with very wide margin. You check the 2024, it was 74 against 25%. And so, however you do the permutations, the likelihood is that unless something extraordinary happened, the NDC was going to win that elections. And so, if you don't get that turnout, you could also reflect it around the Ramadan issue. But inherent in it is also the possibility that people may not be satisfied with what they have been receiving in terms of developmental issues and then progress. If you go to the constituency, I know Ahmed Toure very, very well. May he rest in peace. I served with him on the Energy Committee, and I know how calm he was, how generous and benevolent he was to the constituency. And so, if possibly the wife had participated, we would have had maybe some review to see whether the voter turnout could have gone a bit higher in terms of the sympathies that she may bring on the table than it is now. But generally, when you look at how it turns out, I'm of the respectful view that it is nothing more different. However, it is for the NDC to justify the responsibility and the confidence that the Ghanaian has imposed on them. The challenge bit is, even when you look at their primaries, how Baba Jamal became the parliamentary candidate, the issues that involved his election at their primaries level. If you check the committee that was set up to investigate, and the fact that the committee came to some conclusion that yes, there had been breaches of electoral protocols in terms of giving those televisions and bribing delegates at their level.
You said it was for transportation. Was
TV to transport people. You give television to go and sell and now transport. Or so you see, let's not behave like
bribe, and I'm saying
but that is bribery, blatant. It's clear.
Vote buying.
Vote buying, isn't it bribery? So if clearly, and these are serious matters that we as a country don't even take it serious, because you would have expected that 1 month down the line, there would have been proper investigative outcome to tell us that, because you need to send good signal. Clearly, the president even had revoked his ambassadorial position, trying to disassociate government from his behavior. The NDC caucus in parliament, led by Mahama Yariga, spoke vehemently against the acts for the cancellation of their election and called for a rerun. The party set up a committee. The committee established prima facie that what had happened. And remember, I have information, and he can even confirm as a NEC member, that that investigative committee established that not only Baba Jamal was complicit in the giving of consideration of
all the candidates
that
was public knowledge.
Yes, were also culpable. And so if we take all these things out of it and we want to behave as if the process leading to Baba Jamal and being given the nod to contest for the NDC and the outcome, I didn't hear in this particular election any attempt to influence voters, but I'm sure it was resulting from what we saw,
what transpired during the primaries.
So we need to come up with very strong measures as a country to combat
amazing
election.
Come to you, Wanda. Concerns are, let me come to you on your initial thoughts around the election as we saw play out yesterday, but also I'd want you to touch on calls for some reforms into how we conduct by-elections generally in this country. We recall Talensi, we recall Ayawaso West, we recall Ablekuma North. Thankfully, this by-election didn't witness the violence and chaos that usually characterizes some elections. But generally, there are concerns that by-elections in its current form don't serve purpose. Many have said, see, the party should just elect somebody for us, so we even save, the small resources we have as a country. So touch on it from your initial comment and also calls around reforms.
Okay. I'm looking at the numbers, and if you look at the fact that at the presidential level in 2024, President Mahama got 22,000 votes. Baba Jamal is now getting 10,000. If you look at Dr. Baumia, he got 8,092, and then the MP now, the guy who contested is getting 4,009. Clearly, it's almost about a 50% drop, a little more than that. So clearly, the numbers have affected both sides, or maybe all contestants who stood in. So it clearly demonstrates that there wasn't enough enthusiasm about the election. Plus the fact that it's a known NDC stronghold. So I think that a lot of people just took it for granted that, look, the NDC candidate is going to win. That is why the competition was keenest at the primary level itself.
Than the by-election.
The
main election.
Than the main election. Because once you win, and you look at all our political parties, the contest at strongholds during the primaries are stronger than the national elections.
Yeah.
Because people know that all I have to do is win. So all the bribery that we see happens at the primary levels, most of it, where bicycles, motorbikes, all manner of things are given out. We see it. It happens on both NDC and NPP sides. We've seen it in all elections. The biggest bribery happens during the primary levels. When it comes to the national elections, it goes down. Although you can still see some influence there. So, yes, by elections, we may have to look at it nationally and say, does it lead to losses of resources? Do we need to spend that kind of money to go in there? Generally, for this one, where the stakes are not too high, it goes on peacefully. One, because we are looking at the violence, and then we are also looking at the spending of resources. But when the contest is keen, that is when the tendency for violence also increases. Yeah. So, on that basis, we cannot say that all of them should be the same. The other issue is whether it is worth spending resources on elections. And I say that generally elective politics, as we have seen it in the last few years, hasn't been the best for us. Why? Because we spend time and energy year-round on the politics. And that does not allow for proper thinking and long-term planning, because our whole life is dominated by elective politics. Yeah. The public discourse is dominated wholly by elective politics. So we don't spend time to think and to develop this country. So that, for me, is the weakness in what we are practicing at the moment. It has not been helpful. So a lot of resources are spent on elections. And then when the politicians come in, they must get their returns before the nation gets anything. So everything is dominated by procurement and how we can get our kickbacks. And unfortunately, that is where we are. And I think that in looking at the by-elections, we shouldn't just look at by-elections, but we should look at the whole process of elective politics in Ghana. And whether it's a news to the benefit of the people. We need to look at it.
So the CRC, they should have a role, a major stake in this.
Yes, we need to look at the whole elective politics and ask ourselves open questions. Wow. Let's not just say that, democracy means voting. No, we have translated democracy into voting.
But it goes beyond that.
It goes beyond that.
It's about the welfare of the people.
It's about the welfare of the people. So you listen to everybody. So if you don't vote, then you are not. That is not democracy. And I think that is wrong. We should look at it closely and ask ourselves. Look around the world, and ask ourselves genuine, open-ended questions. Where are the countries that have developed? What kind of system did they practice? In the last 60 years, ask yourself, which are the countries that have developed the most? And what system do they practice? Do they practice the kind of mass elective voting that we see here in Ghana, in Africa? No.
Interesting.
They don't.
Let me, Honorable Isaac Boama alluded to have a majority leader, issue a statement. In fact, he was initially part of the committee to investigate this, but after issuing the statement, he had to recuse himself. Concerns are how, of course, you're not in parliament, but how would this pan out, right? How will this all come together in terms of Baba Jamal going into parliament and working with, a leadership that, he will now be very, suspicious of, for want of a better word.
Yeah, I'm happy the Honorable Isaac made those comments. You see, the NDC as a party made it clear that we do not believe in monocracy. I mean, if you look at the posture that the party took, it tells you that we don't believe in trying to influence or bribing delegates. So we took a bold step to kind of review the process. But I'm surprised that Honorable Isaac feels that, for Ghana politics, this thing doesn't happen. The NPP primaries, the flag bearership race, let me quote some figures for you. Dr. Baumia gave 210 delegates, over 210 delegates, 700 Ghana cedi each, amounting to 147 million Ghana cedi. That's the amount Dr. Bawumia gave.
Where are you getting this? Why are you
I'm
getting
telling
this?
you,
Why are
I'm
you getting
giving you
this?
facts. They claim it was for
You are a
transport.
lawyer.
Oh, but he gave them
Where
this
did
money.
you get this amount from?
Oh, but it's public knowledge.
Where did
From
where's
public
the
knowledge.
public
So your
knowledge?
source, quote your source.
Yeah, quote your source.
The former
Where's the
MP,
public
Dr.
knowledge?
Aduma, came here. I was here with him. And he admitted. He said
That's what-
Brian gave 500 for transport. Here.
Why?
So
Yes.
Dr. Dixon Adomaku Kisi
Yes.
Please,
confirmed
can you-
Brian's.
He came here.
But how about Dr. Bawumia? That was what you mentioned.
So are you saying that Dr. Bawumia didn't give anything? Is that what you are saying?
No,
I'm telling you for a fact. No, they should come out and say otherwise.
No, but you're saying he
here.
gave 700 to all delegates.
Yes, for their
That is
transport.
palpable
Oh,
falsehood.
come on. Otherwise.
Oh, no.
Are you saying that
And otherwise,
the
you're a member of the committee that looked into the
Beyond
election.
that, I'm a delegate myself.
Are you saying that Dr. Bawumia didn't give any transport?
No, you are making a
I'm giving- yes,
categorical
I'm mentioning-
statement
yes, I
that
said
you
700
gave. I
cedi.
didn't get even one CD from Dr. Bawumia as a delegate.
I mean, for obvious reasons. But let me
Where
move
is
on
the
to my
obvious
point.
reason?
The
from?
OSP,
But
the
you-
OSP
you-
issued a statement
Exactly.
a day after
Exactly.
the Ayawaso
People
East
were
primaries
giving
and said that
yes.
he was investigating
Definitely.
the MPP,
That is
election over
welcome.
concerns about vote buying.
That-
So we know generally that
So
it happened.
that concern
For
is
Te-
there.
for Tema.
Hold it, just
For
a
Tema.
second.
Oh, go ahead.
That concern is legitimate. We've all mentioned it. People would have received 500 CDs or 300 CDs, but whether it was for all delegates, you mentioned 210,000, but for nowhere on record, and that is why I'm challenging you, that Dr. Bawumia gave 700 CDs. Please, that is a palpable falsehood.
can you-
Give
maybe
me
you should-
one person that mentioned that
You
Dr.
should- you
Bawumia
should-
gave him
you should-
700
you should-
CDs.
you should
Or
disclose
you
your
withdraw
sources
from
for us.
here. Withdraw
So
that
so
statement.
disclose your sources
You
for
can
us
make
if
that
you are-
I have
statement.
told you that members of Dr. Bawumia's team made it clear that they had made provisions for all delegates. And I'm telling you
Yes.
that the MPP team had said that they gave 700 CDs.
And I'm
which
saying
member of
that
the
is-
team?
Yes, that is a lie. Please don't do that. Wonder, don't do that. This is a serious platform.
No. But if you say, if you sit here and say that
Yes.
Dr. Bawumia didn't give the money across board, but some sessions,
No, I never said across, but I'm saying that that 700 Ghana CD you are quoting
It's not
it's
true.
false.
But some money also were
so
given.
how much was given?
I said
To the
I
best of your
didn't
knowledge.
receive. How can I make a statement I'm not privy to?
No, but-
So
but if you
monies
say-
were
monies were
given.
Definitely people
So it
were
could have been
giving.
more.
So
it could have been
go,
less.
so go make your go
Okay,
on and make your point. So
so-
monies were
ma'am,
given.
Yes, I will say
We don't
that.
know whether it was
Yes, so
700
he admits that
CDs.
monies were given. That he doesn't know the specific figure.
Yes,
that is what
please.
he's
So
saying.
please go on and make
So
your
I'm saying
point.
that if you admit that monies were given, and this is what we are trying to prevent. You understand? Tema East, they were chasing people, Brian's people. They were chasing them during the flag bearership election because they had information that they had brought money. Titus Glover's team, I'm saying this on record, Titus Glover's team were chasing the people that trying to prevent them from sharing money. So if the NDC as a party is trying to stop this process by setting up a team, trying to review all of this, the president has taken a bold step, recalling the ambassador, and we think that the NDC rather should be described as wrong. And look, I'm happy that some senior citizens of this country have gone to the Supreme Court. I think Dr. Nyaho
Tamaklo, Professor Frimpong Boateng,
Exactly.
and the NDC's Dr. Christine.
Exactly.
Norman.
Why are they in court? They are in court to kind of seek
Interpretation.
exactly so that when it comes to delegate election, when it comes to internal election, it will not just be limited to executives. It will be each member
But we know.
and the vote.
Well,
With the aim, the sole aim is to what? Is to reduce vote buying.
Wonder, what
So
do you have to
let's have a
say?
national
What
discourse
do you have
on
to
this.
say to also report that during your May 2023 presidential primary for the NDC, on record, His Excellency also gave 40 CDs to all delegates. Is that in the same bracket as what you are describing?
That is the honesty. That is the integrity, the transparency. President Mahama was clear that across board, 40 CD for transport. Look, somebody left Shime. Me, I'm from the Anglo constituency, Shime, all the way to Angroga to vote. The transport from Shime, you need about 2 vehicles before you get to Angroga. You will spend more than the 40 CD. So this was a fact. But today, a member of parliament, you cannot even tell how much Dr. Bawumia gave. Today, on this show.
Right.
He cannot even mention the amount, but you as a journalist, you can mention the amount President Mahama gave. 40 CD. 2023, as at now, you don't even know what the amount Dr. Bawumia gave.
Irrespective of the amount, right? Is the issue not to attack the principle here, right? No. To say that all forms of vote buying should be abhorred, right? Whether you are giving 100 CDs, whether you are giving 40 CDs, whether you are giving a TV a 32-inch TV or Kosiani Meko, as we come to know it in the Ayawaso East By-Election. Should we not say that voters should just go and do their own thing and not depend on handouts from politicians during the process?
No, the Honorable MP raised a valid point. If you give somebody TV and say that is transport, how can that be transport? That's a valid point. If you give somebody, say, 700 cedi or more or less, let's say 500, and you say that is transport, it's not reasonable. Is it?
But you make the shime to unload,
Yes, because shime to unload, like I said, is within or reasonably around the figure 40 cedi. It's very reasonable. But if you give somebody 10,000 and say it's for transport, it's not the same. That's the point I'm trying to make. President Mahama was so candid and said that, look, all delegates are to get transport of 40 cedi. And the law allows voter education, supporting voters to vote. We are talking about low turnout. That's what we just discussed, low turnout. If there's a way to mobilize people to go and vote, for them to make choice freely without influencing them, there's nothing wrong. But if you give somebody 500 cedi, 700 cedi for transport, that is where the issue is.
Honorable
And as of today, we don't even know the amount that Baba gave.
Honorable Baba, you have a minute, then I'll just take a break.
That is fine. First and foremost, you see, when we're making statements, particularly as a colleague council, we should be very careful to establish facts rather than put conjectures and stuff on the table. Second, I never said on this table that somebody had given anybody transportation and I criticized. I raised the issue of Baba Jamal in respect of the television dole out. And
the fact mentioned bribes.
Yes, I said that was bribery. And you use the word even vote buying, which is the right expression to make. So we've never had a conversation on this table with regards to people being given money in terms of transportation to justify whether that is also bribery or that amounts to vote buying and what amount constituted. I'm saying on record here, of course, people would have received transportation from whether it's Brian Echampo or Educhum or what have you. But as to the exact amount, I'm not in a position here to, because they didn't consult me to give any money. And I am not a beneficiary of even one Ghana across board.
But that does not also mean that money didn't exchange
No,
hands.
I didn't say so. We are focused here. He's saying that I cannot put here on record that Dr. Baumia gave so and so amount. How can I make that statement when I'm not privy to that exactitude of word? Second, if you sit and say Mahama in 2010, 2020 or what have you,
2023
gave 40 cedis, and that amounts to reasonability in terms of transporting somebody, but even to someone from your village, it doesn't amount to even reasonability because you can't give that person 40 cedis. In my region, if you go to the Wasa East and Menfi areas, even to call people for meeting to the center, it costs some people more than even 500. I'm telling you on record. So in terms of pooling resources, if they want to come in a cab and the rest. So we are nowhere here, and that's why electoral reforms are needed. We've had that conversation around whether, and I have made that proposition, that if the parties want to support people in transportation, those money should be paid into a pool. Then you can do analytics and realize how much it will cost someone in the Ifia constituency to move from wherever he's coming from to go and vote. So an Ifia constituency person may be entitled to 50 cedis or 100 cedis depending on where they are coming from to a center to vote. That cannot be equivalent to someone who is coming to Dabuase from a village that you have to go through some ferries and the rest amongst others. So it's a bigger conversation that we need to look at. But when in Accra here, you have an NDC primaries, and he mentioned it, we've seen motorbikes all being given and bicycles across board. We cannot behave like ostriches. But when in your case, as recent as yesterday, it happened, a committee was established, and it was established as a matter of investigative fact. So if you establish this crime, and it's a criminal offense, prosecutable. So the least you could have done was to sanction. But you gave a clearance for the person to go ahead and conduct and participate in that election. And so you can't come on this table, preach equity with a dirty hand. So please, if we are all calling for reforms amongst others, we welcome it. But don't come and sit on this table and say Dr. Bawumia gave 700 Ghana cedi when you cannot, in any shred of proof, establish that. I so submit.
Interesting. All right, so the OSP actually issued a statement on the 8th of February this year where they said clearly that they were investigating both the MPP and, in fact, in the case of the NDC in Ayawaso East, they said it was conducting real-time investigation. So we'll wait on the special prosecutor, Kisi Jabin, to bring out
Why
the
is he not
findings.
doing press conference to give us update?
Oh, he's issued a statement, so I'm sure.
When was the last time he issued that
On
statement?
8th February.
And what is today's date?
Today is March, right? March
And
4th.
real-time investigation, one man down the line, he's not giving us any
I'm
update.
sure he'll come up with the updates.
Please ask him to
necessary.
give us one.
We'll follow up. We'll follow up. All right. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for your thoughts on Ayawaso East. Clearly, reforms are needed. Because you wanted to touch on something.
Just a quick one. You see, in all these issues about how much someone gave in an election, I think we are losing sight of something. Funding of political parties. How do we fund political parties? The fact that the president gave 40 cedis does not mean that
And
he's
disclosed
better,
it.
and disclose it does not make that he's clean. Where did he get the 40 cedis from? You understand? These are the things that need to be proved. Where did he get the 40
Because
cedis
40
from?
CDs for how many days?
Exactly.
That's significant.
That's huge. It should be
It was
proved.
in excess of almost
You
10
see,
million
and
or so.
when you see, and this is where I say that all our public institutions are no longer working effectively.
Yeah.
If you look at the Political Parties Act 574, it requires the EC to get audited accounts from all these political parties. Has the EC been doing that?
Maybe they're overwhelmed.
Again, these are the issues of public performance. When our state institutions are completely failing the state, is the EC calling for accounts from all these political parties? Are all these political parties rendering proper accounts? And has the EC not looked at all these things and say, hey, the way political parties are being funded is not right? I mean, these are the things that we need to look at. That is why I talk about the failure of state institutions, because we have politicized everything, where even the EC's office is being politicized.
Interesting. Wow.
This is dangerous for us. So when we say that we insist on this elective politics, the question is, what is the end game? Is it just to enrich a few people in this society? Because none of our systems seem to be working. And that for me is worry. If you look at all the sections of the political parties, there are ways by which the EC can hold political parties accountable, but it is not doing any of this.
Wow. Koshi, your point has been well made, and I'm sure it's a point for reflection for all of us in terms of ensuring that political parties play by the rules, and that will be it for our discussion on Ayawaso East constituency by-election. Baba Jamal Ahmed Mohammed winning that seat for the NDC. It's a seat the NDC has been winning, since the Fourth Republic. So not a lot of surprises there, except to say that the low voter turnout raised a few concerns my guests have, looked at and dissected very well for us. We'll move on to the second conversation. We know the Chief of Staff, raised concerns about post-election appointments, recruitments, and promotions. Now, the big story is that 541 of those appointments, promotions, and recruitments have been revoked. Now, 1,201 of these, appointments, recruitments, promotions have been upheld. So what that means is that those persons appointed will continue to serve in their various roles because their appointment came before the 7th of December 2024. Of course, the minority have already raised concerns about this. I've heard John Darko, Member of Parliament for Siame, who is the Minority Legal Counsel, call for some transparency in terms of. But I'll start with the Honorable Isaac Boama Nyako. Maybe to rehash the concerns the minority have in respect of this particular announcement by the Government Communications Minister.
Well, thank you. And when I listened to Felix yesterday, I had mixed feelings. One of relief, particularly for those affected who may have the opportunity now to go back to work, and also the other side being really, why did we get to where we were? Following the directive from the Chief of Staff. You see, we are a country governed by laws. and you expect that all state institutions work within the remit of the law. When there's political transitions, decisions are still made because the executive has a tenure which expires on the 6th of January, the ensuing year. And so if people make decisions and you are unhappy, that is not for you to take that conclusive position that because it happened just before an election or right after an election, I should be given that brief. Or if I'm not given the full brief or I disagree with the decisions that you've made, then I have the power to issue a letter to completely revoke. Do you know the number of lives that have been affected 1 year down the line through this decision? I have had hundreds of people. Ghana Revenue Authority, for example, did some recruitment, about 300, and all their appointments were revoked. They even got the appointment before the 7th of December. You go to other state institutions, it's happened. I agree to an extent that fairness and equity would have demanded when decisions were made post the elections, that at least the transitional team be put on notice, or they said that's why we do transition. So here and there you meet, you look at the facts, okay, these people started the promotion, it go to this point, I want to give clearance to this point. So we all agree. If they disagree and you as the government in power still believe that this is the decision you have to make, you make those decisions on record that you have engaged, there were disagreements, but this is what you needed to do. But when Chief of Staff issues a letter that all appointments post 7th December should be revoked, that was worrying because he didn't have that power. Institutions are established by law. They also have laws that govern their processes, whether it is employment, retirement, promotions. So are you telling us that when government changes hands, those institutions should freeze until you take over? Those decisions were for us completely out of order, and we were setting bad precedents for tomorrow, because next time when there is another change of government, people, and the worst aspect of it is that people took advantage of it and went years back, months back. People who had appointments in August got their appointment terminated. You go to institutions, whether it's Cocoa Board, wherever, people were asked to go home as if there had been a military takeover. These were bad signals. So if you review the committee's report and outcome, look at those affected against those who have been legitimately so-called been revoked. Look at the percentage differences. And in law, you cannot take a decision when you are not sure of your facts that somebody is guilty, and you box all of them up and then you pronounce them guilty. Because
one free person is better than
putting all of them in.
Yeah.
And this is what has been, and it has taken a sustained engagement and pressure. I
think there's a maxim like that, right, where it's better to set free 1,000 prisoners than jail one. But yeah,
you understand. So I'm happy for whatever reason that at least, because it takes bold decision or bold government to come back with these reports and say that yes, we've done our own investigations, 1,200 and something, 201 deserve, but it comes with cost, because if they were entitled to employment and you revoked it over 1 year, are you going to compensate them for those period that you wrongfully terminated their contract? It comes at a cost. If it had gotten effects on their family, how do we do this? So for me and for government, we all have to learn that we don't take these decisions because of politics. And so many wrong political decisions have been made in institutions. You know, Bank of Ghana, they also were compelled to revoke appointments, and later they had to call them back because they realized that was also not properly done. And so I believe even those whose appointments have been revoked, we need further and better particulars. We have a government that is always giving us half piece of information. Like when Felix was giving us this disclosure, you give us the full fact. This institution if it is NP that revoked 5 appointments, you can confirm that 3 of them were properly done, 2 were not. If it is
So you want a breakdown
you
of
should
sector by sector.
You should, not sector, institution by institution, so that it will serve as Ghanaians.
Wonder.
The facts available.
I listened to Felix, right, and he explained that those that were revoked, the 541, were appointments after the election. Now, my question to you: the government hands over after 7th January, within the period of the time the election took place up until 7th January, they still have a responsibility to govern the country. So if a government even makes an appointment on the 6th of December, which it is constitutionally mandated to as January, I beg your pardon, you know, because it is still in government, it doesn't matter the period with which an appointment was made. I don't know if you get the frame of my question.
You know, I'm just quiet. Me, when it comes to these issues, I want consistency. And that's what I always pray for, both parties, consistency. In 2017, some directors at NSS, as soon as the NPP took over, revoked their appointment. This April will be my 10th year at YA. I've been a public servant for the past 10 years. I used to be the district director for youth employment at Keta. At the time, Anglo and Keta used one municipality, so Keta municipality, until Nanado came, and then now we have Angola district. So I used to be the district director in 2016. As soon as NPP came, I was transferred from Keta to Garutimpani. Some others, those who were newly recruited around that time, their contracts were revoked. And up to today, they are no longer with YA. I drove all the way from Keta to Garutimpani at the time for some time, and then I took steady leave and went to the US. You understand? I just wanted to see the impact these things have. That's why when Chief Mali Basintali took over YA, I advised him that, look, let's have some kind of, it will take one government to change the norm. So that's why I didn't hear noise about YA, people being transferred, people being sacked and stuff. Because some of us experienced it bitterly when NPP came. They've revoked people's appointments.
They revoked 300 appointments. I even asked the question in Parliament.
Let me explain that. The mechanization. The NPP, I'm coming to that. Another issue.
So appointments were revoked.
No,
300.
No, let me come.
I asked the question in Parliament and the minister came to respond.
That's the parliamentary question.
Yes.
I'm coming to that. So another reasons that influence the decision by the chief of staff is the processes. As an HR person, if you make recruitment in November or December, you get your financial clearance. Before you make appointment, you get technical clearance from the Public Services Commission, and you get financial clearance from the Ministry of Finance. These are facts. Now, if you get your financial clearance, say November 10th, then by November, you issue appointment letters by November 15th. You get your financial clearance November 10th, and then you issue appointment letters November 15th. Now, the law, the processes, for example, at YE, the Human Resource Manual, for example, says that you must give notice of vacancy at least 4 weeks clear. These are facts. You must have a selection panel to interview these people. So if you get your financial clearance as late as November 10th, then within 5 days, you start issuing appointment letters.
24-hour economy.
But that government didn't bring
I'm speaking
that
as fact. I'm currently the director HR for YE, acting director HR. I've been at YE for 10 years, like I told you. So I'm giving you the facts. Some people were recruited under that period. Some, we have for a fact, were in Canada. They weren't even in Ghana at all to even participate in the interview. These are facts. If you go to immigration records, these are facts.
And this is our YE.
Yes. You see, so I'm just telling you, so if you see the chief of staff giving the directive, and then I'm happy that for some institutions, persons have been recalled. Like I've told you, these issues, when it comes to, I don't do politics, I believe in consistency. I've just told you what happened in 2017. District directors or managers of national service, all of them, their appointments were revoked.
Koshi, is there a sign of bad faith on the part of a government to be issuing, appointment after an election that has been lost?
For me, the question is not just bad faith, but the question is procedural. One, are people even needed in those institutions? You see, when our politicians come into office, the first thing, we are going to create jobs. So they start staffing people into government sector. As to whether people are needed or not, it's not an issue. The politicians who handpick people go to this guy, oh, employ this for me. That is what is happening within our public sector. That is why there's very little efficiency within our public sector. Go to ECG, go to all of them. Highly overpopulated. Why? Because every government comes and says, oh, take these people, take these people.
And it increases the public sector wage
exactly.
bill.
Now, look, let's do this. Take the newspapers. Over the last 10 years, look at adverts that have been put up by any of these public institutions. And vet it against people who have been employed. And then you see where our governments are misbehaving. They are simply pushing people into public sector without due process.
And it's both sides.
Both of them. So the question first is whether we need people in those places. Now, if we need them, have we gone through proper advertisements? And that is where you come to see that every single person who is graduating from school thinks that you must know somebody to get a job. So people don't even respond to adverts when they are advertised. Because that is the feeling. Because they've seen it. Their friends have been handpicked and given jobs. So you realize that there's mistrust in the whole public system and the governance in this country. So what is happening now, for me, is simply a reflection of all the things that both parties have been doing. You are leaving government, and because you are seeking votes, everything is about votes. Can we just put people in, and then people can be spying for us and giving us information? That is what the whole public service has been reduced to. So that they are sitting outside and yet they are listening to conversations inside there. That, unfortunately, is what the whole public sector has been reduced to. So there's no efficiency in there. Now, because Bank of Ghana has built a new place, suddenly people are saying that, oh, there's more space.
There's more office space.
Let's push people in there. I mean, that is what is happening in this country. People,
it's unfortunate.
Since the NDC government came in, people have been asked to go and sit at home for 1 year, and they are being paid. People are being paid, and yet they are not working. Simply because they think that they don't belong to our side, so let them go and sit at home.
Just like that.
Just like that. So you can't sack them, but they are sitting at home.
So they'll rather let you not come to work.
Exactly.
And they have
and yet they'll be you are all on the public wage. For Ghana. That is the governance we have in this country, and these are the things that we should be railing against.
That's unconscionable.
Exactly. But they are doing it. They are doing it, and we are all looking on.
So, Kosi, you see, that is where, when you give me a reset, seriously, when you tell me that this government is there to reset, I was expecting President Mahama to clearly show some directions and path in terms of these areas and direction. And that is why for just this line, I give partial commendation for even this. But the reality, and it's available to the president and the chief of staff, that these complaints that we are making is even going on as of today worse.
Yeah, it's going on.
It's worse. In public institutions, it's worse. So what is the essence of the reset?
For instance,
what is the essence of the reset?
When
go to
was
foreign
in government,
affairs. Go and see the way
positions that did not exist in Senate were created for Safumafo's son.
Yes.
STC didn't have deputy MDs. They created deputy MDs and filled them. NDC came, NDC didn't collapse it. They are also filling it.
But the pushback could be that every government comes with this approach to governance.
No.
So if, for example, we feel like we need a director of research at SNIT, and it didn't exist in the past. So, like I'm saying, every government comes with its idea as to how to manage. So creating roles, I'm not sure it's a new thing.
No. So let's look at it. SNIT as an institution is the one that it shouldn't be government saying create it.
Okay.
It should be SNIT that must look at its systems and say, hey, we need this position. But when government lures and says create this position and fill it with this person, I mean, when was that position advertised? You understand? These are the things. And you see, when you are managing pension funds, your expenditure must be as low as possible. There are benchmarks all over the world. Go and look at SNIT's benchmark. How much are they spending for managing pensions? These are the issues we should be looking at. But we sit down and we all look on because it could be my turn. Maybe I will be favored. So we as human beings and public people, we all look on because tomorrow it may be my party in power. And these are the things that are bringing the whole nation down.
Isaac, the
we need to be honest.
The minister mentioned, very briefly, that the government transition team and that of the outgoing government both agreed that there should be some scrutiny into the numbers. So why the sudden fury from your side with regards to this? Very briefly.
No, I think I established that it is only fair and reasonable that when there is a change of government in terms of an elections, and you want to make certain decisions that commit the incoming government to financial responsibility, you give full disclosure, you all agree, justify, and where you agree to disagree, you make it so, and then we proceed. That is why I'm surprised, because I knew they had quite some good transitional process, but maybe there could have been disagreements in terms of the employment and recruitment, because of course the incoming government might have felt that when those people that are being recruited are coming or are coming from the MPP stock, and this is why I have a problem. We are making public institutions partisan. When I joined Ghana Revenue Authority, I joined as a young person who applied for job, who got that employment. I served all regimes. I was close to George Blankson as Commissioner General, though I had my inherent political tradition. I served GRA Commissioner General George Blankson so faithfully that even the transition, the NDC, the transition between NDC 1, NDC 2, the Atamils, I was the one who coordinated the entire transitional document from GRA to the transitional team. You see, but now everybody that is entering public service is entering from political lens. It's coming from somebody whom you know and the rest. So we weaken the institutions.
Interesting. And on that note of weakening institutions due to partisan, appointments, recruitments, and promotions, we'll take a quick break. When we are back, there's a lot more to still discuss right here on Breakfast Daily. US, Israel attack Iran. Concerns about fuel scarcity and all of that will be coming up pretty shortly right after this break. My name is Jude Duncan, sitting in for a regular host, Nana Tufo-Boatin. Don't go away. Yeah, welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily right here on ChannelOne TV with me, Jude Duncan. It's now time to delve into our conversation on the US-Israel attack on Iran and the possible implications it would have on the Ghanaian economy, particularly in our fuel sector. But just before I delve into that particular conversation, a couple of your messages have been coming through, and I'll read. This one says, "Good morning, Jude. They fear Member of Parliament Isaac Bamanyako is talking about equity." Asked with a question mark. Has he ever heard from Nanado's government's account for the people they laid off? He should give us a break. This from Kojo Impeki. I'm surprised Ghanaian journalists didn't say anything about MPP's tribalism and nepotism. I came from abroad during the Kufuor era for a job in the health sector. They said being an Ewe, they would not employ me. That's Kweku from La Paz. Good morning, Jude Duncan. Respectfully, let the NDC rep Wisdom Kuto in your studios withdraw his allegations against Dr. Baumia, doling out 147 million. Wanda Kuto, yes. I am appalled by the attitudes of politicians trying to dent the image. We revered some of them so much. So please, we are watching and trusting that they will do the right thing before the show ends. This is Isaac Clinches. This other message says, "Hello, ChannelOne TV. Please let Wanda provide evidence to substantiate his allegations of 700 CDs. Your media house has a huge reputation to protect. Please, I think you clarified that.
Yeah,
right? They are not really happy with you on this. There's another message on the 700 CDs, but that has been already mentioned. This one says, "Hi, what has the previous MPP government left for us? A junk state via loading hard-earned taxpayers' cash into their private pockets and not looking at the larger interest of Ghanaians. No wonder this illegal recruitment is still ongoing. Therefore, this government's revocation of some is in the right direction." You go on to say, even take into consideration former Vice President Baumia saying that they finished the construction of a $12 million Paolugu Dam. Meanwhile, nothing of that sort has been done. You go on and on and on. Papa BC from Springtex in Accra. This other message from Mavis says, "I'm so grateful for Koshi's argument on the show. Clearly, we need to keep putting Ghana first. Partisanship won't take us anywhere. Nana Yao AJ says, I'm enjoying the discussion, rich conversation, insightful analysis from your guest. They've not been too political. We need to keep putting Ghana first in all of these conversations. All right, thank you so much for sending in your messages. We are grateful. You can still do so, right? The show is not over yet. We'll be glad to hear what your comments, your contributions are on the subjects we are discussing. But on the 28th of February this year, the US and Israel, in a coordinated attack, sent missiles down Iran. And of course, the ripple effects are what you are currently seeing happening in the Middle East. Flight disruptions everywhere, a significant number of death toll rising. Even among the US themselves, 4 of their servicemen have already been killed. And it's led to so many other issues, particularly within the oil sector. And that is what we'll be discussing on the show now. An operation called Operation Epic Fury, launched by the US and Israel on Iran, ostensibly to destroy their military infrastructure and dismantle some nuclear sites. And this is the war that has got the whole world talking now. Gentlemen are in studio to share some insights with us. We've heard from the EPA, and I'll start with you, Koshi. We heard from the EPA first, their Economic Planning Director, Economic Planning and Regulation Director, Abbas Tasunti, was in the news and assured the Republic that we have in excess of 5 weeks of reserve fuel and that we won't be feeling the heat of it any moment from now. But we are looking at the global charts of world oil prices, and they're already exceeding the $100 per barrel price. And that has got a lot of analysts quite uneasy. What are your general thoughts around the issue at hand?
So again, I think that when we look at these issues, we need to look at the impact on us, and then how does that impact inform us in terms of long-term planning. When we discovered oil in Ghana a few years ago in commercial quantities, not just discovering, but discovering in commercial quantities a few years ago, what did we do? We quickly said, let's go and get some people to come and drill the oil, and then we split certain costs. And that is what we did. We didn't ask ourselves the question, for me at the time, fundamental question was, how do we maximize the benefit of an oil find? We even had debates about how to share the money in this country, whether we could just sell the oil and then share the money among citizens. That is the level of national discuss that we had, because I attended one of them. And my contribution on that platform was, 1, oil rigs are not rocket science, because I'm an engineer. And I mentioned it, it was at the National Theatre. I said, look, the National Conference Center. And I said, an oil rig simply requires engineers and technicians, because all you have there are motors, pumps, and all manner of things. So the basics, we have been training people like this in KNUST since 1960s. So we have the fundamentals. The only thing that is different largely on an oil rig is the environment within which people are working. So if we wanted to maximize the benefit of oil find, we needed to think about how do we ensure that Ghanaians quickly get into that role. How do we ensure that the oil, when you find the oil, you process it? So can we start thinking about industries to process oil and things like that? But all we quickly did was, because we wanted cash. The politicians thought that, look, we need to get cash quickly and all that. So if we had done those steps about a few years ago, by now, Ghana would have been maximizing the benefit of the oil field. That's the same thing we did with gold. So up to now, how much gold do we refine in Ghana? When we have been mining gold for over 100 years. That is how you maximize things. So if you do that, then this crisis that is happening out there in the Middle East wouldn't impact you so much, because you would have protected yourself with certain benefits of your own natural resources. But we have not done that very well. Anytime we find anything, how do we sell it quickly and get money? Like which one? The most recent one is this mineral. What is it? Lithium. Now we are debating how we can sell it, and just 10%, 20%, all manner of things. Downstream processing won't do anything. Even if we put it in the law, once we start mining it, finished, it's gone. As for downstream processing, we don't care anymore. So for me, what is happening on the global level should inform us about sitting down, thinking, and long-term development. Again, what the US and Israel are doing is not something that just happened out of the blues. It's a series of events that has historical...
You saw it coming.
Yeah, but it has history behind it. In 1953, the same US ensured that the Iranian Modek was overthrown. The prime minister was overthrown, so the Shah could have unlimited power. The Shah ruled. Then the people said, no, we don't want this. So 1979, the revolution occurred. So there's history behind this. The US and Britain made sure the guy was overthrown in 1953, the Modek, because the guy had come in and said, look, oil from Iran must benefit the people of Iran. It must not be for Mobil and all those other multinationals. And so he took over and insisted that those things be done. They organized and overthrew him. After all these years, 1979, the People's Republic came in and said, no, revolution, and took over everything again. So these are all revenge cycles that are going on. They come in again and say, no, we must get the oil. So this pretense about nuclear and all that is neither here nor there. Now again, on what basis do you decide that somebody shouldn't have a nuclear power or a nuclear bomb? On what basis? I mean, if Ghana wanted it, why should anybody say we shouldn't have it? No, I'm just asking, you see, because who gave someone authority to impose their will on others? And says you are not fit to have a nuclear weapon, but I am fit to have one.
Considering that there's history, right? Because remember the Bush war on Iraq, right? Weapons of mass destruction.
Exactly.
Then it turns out that there was nothing really.
It was all about oil.
Then, of course, going into Afghanistan,
Libya,
trying to remove the Taliban government, only to hand over power back to the Taliban after 20 years. So clearly, questions about the real motive.
Yeah. So for me again, these are things that we need to be questioning, and for us as Ghanaians or as Africans, we need to sit down and do deep thinking. This idea of simply jumping on bandwagons every now and again with some slogans and doesn't help us.
Doesn't help us. Wow.
Because our resources are being taken out of this country on a regular basis.
Wonder.
We are not making any progress.
We've heard from COMAC, the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. Their president came out to speak and said that it is very likely for prices will go up, even though we've had assurances from the MPA that we have in excess of 5 weeks, right? But we also saw how political, usually issues around global shocks are in our political, scene. So COVID, for example, your party didn't let the NPP rest. They were always on their case on the efficient use of COVID money. Then there was the Russia-Ukraine war. The question is, how was the assurance that despite yet another global shock, your administration is minded to do what is right by Ghanaians?
Yeah, thank you. My major worry about this ongoing war is the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. That's my major worry. You know, the world oil and gas trade transit through this narrow channel.
President Trump said that
Iran and Oman. So the closure of it.
President Trump, according to CNN, said that if he needs to put boots on the ground to guard, easy passage, his government will be minded to do that. So I don't know what that fits into your analysis.
But the reality, the reality is that it's been closed as it stands now, and that's my worry. In fact, most countries are even evacuating their staff, from the various missions. And all of this, even apart from the impact it has on oil and gas trade, there are also some immigration implications. Now back to the issues and the implications that you have on Ghana. I must say that having 5 weeks reserve, to be honest, is not
sufficient.
It's not sufficient, to be very honest. Some countries are looking at other options. Pakistan, they are rerouting their oil supply chain. India, they are trying to return to the reliance on Russian crude. As a nation, I think this is the time for us to call for solar. We must invest in other sources and energy
options.
You see, because 5 weeks.
To be fair, when you listen to Abbas Tasunti, he said that it didn't mean that the MPA was sitting idle. It's 5 weeks of reserve, but they are looking at other supply chain options. So that is being looked at.
Yeah, but this has been beyond the politics. Both when NPP is in power, NDC, anytime we come to power, what was the reserves? It's mostly around 5 weeks, 2 months. As a nation, can we one day boast that we have 1 year reserve? Let's think about it. Some countries have about 5 years reserve. Oh. Some countries have
So we
5
ought not
years.
to politicize this.
You see, these issues, we're talking about.
But some of your communicators didn't let the government
Oh,
rest
but no, but
on the Ukraine war.
But you know
the president, the former president said that when bombs fly in Ukraine, in Kiev, and Moscow, it was directly hitting our pockets. But some of your communicators said, hey, it can't be the case.
The fact was that the way the MPP people went about this COVID, even after COVID, they were still taking COVID levy and stuff. That's why some of us were worried. You see, this MPP doing this AFCON, this thing. If MPP were in power, this Senegalese people moving off the pitch,
they would have brought the levy.
They would have brought the levy. The penalty miss. After MPP, every small thing be a levy. That's the worry. It's not anything.
As a farmer, your government left office just about a year ago. Your former presidential candidate was always quick to remind us of what he described as a quadruple whammy that hits the economy and ultimately led to your defeat in the election. He said there was the banking sector crisis, there was the energy sector crisis, then, of course, global shocks, COVID, Russia, Ukraine. Yet another global shock is on our hands again. Should we be worried?
Yeah, we worried. That's why the president has started commenting on its effect on Africa, and now they are bringing it to the local discourse to get the Minister for Energy to look at options to cushion the economy in case this war lasts. So it only tells us that we shouldn't politicize everything. When you think you get political advantage, you take it, you dine with it, you lambast somebody unfairly, because rightly so. Sabi Jemfi said when the bombs are flying in Ukraine or Kiev, do you get those bombs in Accra? So if Accra, we don't get some of the bombs, so are we worried? Why are we worried about bombs in Iran?
But supply chain.
No. Did you know supply chain? When food prices were going up, did you know supply chain? So why is the president worried? If Ghana is not affected by global economics and global shocks, why are we now talking about 5 weeks? You talking about 5 weeks break? We only don't want this because where it is going, if this war is to drag 3 months, 4 months to 6 months, you will see all the accelerated reserves that they are there talking about, the gold board. You see what will happen in this country. We don't wish this country evil, but the realities are, and that's what we have been telling them, even as at the last debate. We told them that we are not on our own. We live within a global economy. The globe has its own shocks. And so when you are building reserves, you build reserves for tomorrow. You don't build reserves just for political expediency. You don't manage the economic space and see, how do you put over $10 billion just to try and say you want to keep the exchange rate at a particular... So these global shocks, when they begin to tell, you see the impact and the way and manner this whole exchange rate matters will take off out of our hands. One, President Mahama and the government have seen that the implications are real. We should begin to tighten our belts for anything that could come on board. From Parliament's point of view, we're going to call for the Energy Minister to come and brief Parliament on plans that the government has in dealing with these things.
They issued a statement and said that they were assessing the situation and will come out with some step-by-step approach to safeguard the country.
Yeah, we need that quickly, because see, Ghanaians have been paying 1 Ghana cedi per litre.
Doomsor levy.
Yes, the Doomsor levy. And we gave indication that even this 1 Ghana cedi per litre, government should have developed a framework which could part go into the payment of the debt we had, put a part in saving, putting in some sinking fund, so that when you get some of these eventualities, you can use it to cushion. As at now, 1 year down the line,
there's nothing like that.
We've not received any brief in terms of, all they tell us is, oh, we've paid these debts, we've paid these debts. But as to how much has been received, whether we have done proper planning in terms of this, and with the coming into of this whole global shocks that we are anticipating, how is government going to readjust so that at the end of the day, because we don't want this country to go back to 16 Ghana cedi per litre. They told us that we won't go there.
After your government took us there.
Yes. That's why they said reset. We will not go there. And we don't want to hear US-Iran war. Ghana is never affected by wars outside our jurisdiction.
Hopefully we don't get to that level.
Yeah, so we pray we don't get there.
Because I'll come to you for final words on building the necessary guardrails and safeguards so that we don't always be at the beck and call of some of these foreign powers when these shocks happen. But just before you put your thoughts together on that for us, viewers, I'd want to just bring this to you, right? The immigration formula. Now that we are discussing, the global world order, it's important to also mention that our guest on the show, Wonder Victor Kuto, Esquire, has come up with a really, really informative book. The Immigration Formula, Rules, Packaging and Strategy. The foreword is by Professor Larry Di Matteo. And for those of you who follow football, you know that Di Matteo name is very popular among Chelsea fans, right? He won Chelsea their second Champions League. And of course, His Lordship Justice Yoni Kulendi. And so the Immigration Formula, the launch will be happening on the 13th of March this year at the Shippers Authority. Ghana Shippers Authority. All right, so maybe towards the end, you just briefly tell us what to expect at the launch. But congratulations. Yes, so Koshi, how do we build the safeguards and the guardrails?
So the thing is to build resilience into our own nation. For instance, just recently again, our tomato market women got stranded in Burkina Faso. When we are a country with a lot of water bodies where we could have irrigation farming all year round and issues like that. So once you build resilience in your own country, then as much as we are a global community, the impact on you by such circumstances will not be the harshest. But we are here and all we seem to do is depend on others. We don't want to do anything for ourselves because the hard things that we need to do is to be able to feed ourselves as a country. Once you are not able to feed yourself, and another country says, hey, I can't supply you chicken tomorrow, I can't supply you sugar.
There's trouble.
There's trouble.
So we should start from homegrown solutions.
Exactly. I mean, the basics, the fundamentals. I mean, and it's not like we are living in the desert. We are lucky enough to have fertile lands around us. So we focus on that and say, how do we ensure that land use for farming is done right? I mean, cocoa. Look at what's happening with cocoa. All through these years, we know that we are one of the leading cocoa producers in this world. How come we haven't designed systems to be able to store cocoa and preserve cocoa when the price is bad and then release it when we need? Why? All these years, we have waited until crisis and then suddenly it takes a political turn. Instead of looking at it dispassionately and say, how do we ensure that cocoa farmers always are treated properly or that they get the fruits of their labor and that the nation also gets the necessary benefits? We don't think about it. Every time syndicated loan, let's go and buy, and then people are living fat. I mean, these are the things that we need to look at as seriously as a nation.
Wow.
Feed ourselves. Then the next thing is fuel. How do we manage resources that we have from the land? How do we maximize it? We don't do any of this. So we are always at the mercy of others. And that for me is the worry, that we are not sitting down to do long-term planning and development. Everything is on a 4-year cycle. Nothing seems to last. And that is worrying.
Wow. And on that worrying note, we bring an end to today's discussion. Grateful for your time. That, gentlemen, you could share insight with us. I'll give you the final word, Wanda, to just tell us what to expect at the book launch.
Yeah. But before then, let me comment in for the book. I think it's a very rich book for students of law and even the general public, particularly those who travel into jurisdictions like America. They will find it as an important piece. And I'll be there to support a brother.
Oh, nice. Except that you commend you for the way the government dealt with the Russia-Ukraine war.
No, that they shouldn't bring it to the table.
But on immigration formula,
yes.
you give it to him.
Yes.
That's a very big endorsement coming from your
I'm
colleague
grateful.
on the opposite side.
It's my senior at the bar, actually.
Oh, okay. Obviously.
And just to say, some of the topics that we expect is refugee, asylum, immigrant applications, and just to also note, there are some visas that have conditions. So, for example, if you get a US J1 visa and it's subject to the 2-year rule, if you travel to the US and you return, you cannot apply for any other US visa until you
all of that will be
the 2
explained.
years. Everything is in the book.
Wow.
We also have revocation of visas, the implications. If you get a 5-year visa, it doesn't mean go and stay there for 5 years.
How about
status.
Political prisoners, those who go and they don't want to come
Everything
back?
is there. There is there. So I will see. Of course, next week Friday.
Yeah.
If you say 13th March, people think it's Friday. Just next week Friday.
Next week Friday.
4 p.m.
Next week Friday.
prompt.
Who are we expecting?
Oh, the program will be chaired by His Lordship Justice Emmanuel Kulundi. He provided the forward, and then he will be there. And many people.
So if you're a former Maslow here and you're jailed and you don't want to come back,
Now you want to do
info is
politics.
this
Now you want to
weekend.
do politics.
All right, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Thank you. God
Wanda,
bless you.
for this lovely piece. That's all time will allow us for today's segment of our news review segment. My name Jude Duncan, sitting in for Nana to 4 Boating. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Bye-bye.